Hello, let's get started with lesson number 11. This is on subject verb agreement. This is one important concept where students make lots of grammatical errors, so please be alert. Now let's go back to the concept of verbs that we had studied in the previous lessons. What we had studied was main verb and helping verbs, which are being used to form tenses. But here we are discussing regular verbs and irregular verbs. So regular verbs are the ones where the past tense of the word can be formed just by adding ed. Dance, danced, play, played. So it is much easier to remember. But with irregular verbs, the past tense and the past participle is formed in a different way than merely adding ed. There are three cases which are going to be considered depending on the kind of words that we use. The first is when all three forms are the same. Bet, 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 which means even if you use the word in present tense or in past tense or in past participle, it is going to remain the same. Or burst, 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 cost, cost, cost. In the second case, only two forms remain the same. It could be the first two forms, or maybe the last two, or any two forms for that matter. Beat, beat, beaten, become, became, become, bend, bent, bent, bleed, bled, bled, breed, bred, bred, catch, caught, caught. You can go through these words and make sure you do not make these mistakes while forming your sentences. So there are few other words where all three forms are different. Drink, drunk, drunken, melt, melted, molten, prove, proved, proven. Now, where is this third form used? Past participle. It is mainly used when you are talking about, for example, present perfect. She eats food. She has eaten food. So, eaten is the past participle form, right? For example, when I say melt, melted, molten, how much time will it take to melt the copper? The copper melted in almost 3 hours. The copper is in molten form. So now there are three different forms depending on the usage, and the same word can be used in three different forms depending on the requirement of the sentence. So as I said, when we talk about she has eaten the food, um, we can also say that she. So for example, another example like strike, struck, and striken. So this did not strike me. This idea did not strike me. I was struck with fear when I saw the lion. Um, this idea has stricken me. So this third past participle is used either for the present perfect tense or for the passive voice when you are changing your active voice to passive voice, right? For example, she took the ball. The ball was taken. So taken is the past participle form. Or she has taken the ball. This is the present perfect form. So in this we are using the past participle. So that is why you really need to understand this concept of past participle so that you do not make mistakes in your active passive voices. I mean especially the passive sentences, and you also do not make mistake with your present perfect tense. Now this we have already done before, auxiliary and modal verbs, am, is, was, etc., and they're all called auxiliary verbs. They're different, words like can, could, may, might, which are used depending on the requirement in the sentence. Somewhere they are used to express meanings such as permission, possibility, certainty, and necessity. Need and dare can also be sometimes used as modal verbs. So, as I told you before, these words are basically used with the main verb because they're trying to help the verb, or sometimes they come alone in the sentence acting as a main verb, like she is a wonderful dancer. Here is a auxiliary verb which is acting as a main verb. She is wearing a red dress. So is comes with the word wearing, and it makes the sentence meaningful. So if you try to skip the modal verb, when you have ing form in the tense, which is your continuous form in the tense, it will not make any sense. So if you say she wearing a red dress, it's not going to make sense. She is wearing a red dress. I need to have my helping verb with the main verb. Now let's look at the agreement of the verb with the subject. We have to ensure while making a sentence that a verb must agree with its subject in number and person. One of the biggest mistake that people make is singular subject, singular verb, plural subject, and plural a verb. So you have to be careful with that. We have already studied that in the previous lessons. Birds, bird eats, birds eat. So that's how it goes. But there are few exceptions also. And sometimes there is more than one subject in the sentence. And one subject is singular, the other is plural. So it's difficult to find out what should be my verb. For example, the quality of the apples was not good. If I take my subject as apples, I should use a plural verb. But this not good is about the quality, not the apples. And quality is singular. That is why my verb is also singular, was. The introduction of tea and coffee and such other beverages has not been without some effect. So if I look at the word beverages, I should use a plural verb which is have. But I am not talking about beverages. I'm talking about introduction. Introduction of anything, be it singular or plural. And the word introduction is singular, therefore my verb will also be singular. That is why the verb is has. Similarly, the cost of some articles has risen. I'm not talking about articles, I'm talking about cost, which is singular. That is why my verb is also singular. And why is it has risen? The cost of some articles has risen. This is in passive, this is an active sentence. And if I have to write the correct modal verb, I have to look at my past participle, which is risen, which means since it is in since it is in active voice and it this sentence is going to be in present perfect tense. So if I have risen, I have to put has and have depending whether my subject is singular or plural. So since my subject is singular, which is cost, my verb will also be singular, which is has. A lot of people here make mistake and they write cost of some articles was risen, are risen. It is not correct. As we had discussed before, the rules in tenses are that if your sentence is in active voice, then with your past participle, which is risen, taken, past, I will always have has, have, had, depending on the time of action and depending on the nature of subject. But I will not have was risen and are risen. That is grammatically incorrect. So you have to go through all these concepts, and during your formation of sentences you have to keep your checkpoint list, and you have to be careful that you are going through all the points in your checkpoint list. That is my sentence in active voice, which is my subject, is my subject agreeing with my verb, is my tense correct, is my preposition correct. Once you've gone through all these checkpoints, you know making your own corrections becomes very easy. Now, there are few exceptions with respect to subject verb agreement. When there are two or more singular nouns or pronouns and they're joined by an and, then it becomes a plural verb. So I'm going to use a plural verb. Gold and silver is taken as, two separate entities. So my verb is plural. Similarly, fire and water do not agree. They're taken as two different entities. Now, there are situations where the nouns suggest one idea and refer to the same person or thing. The verb is singular, like time and tide is taken as one single entity. It is taken as one single concept. Waits for no man. That is why my verb is also singular. Similarly, bread and butter is taken as one concept. Is only food. That is why we use singular verb. Now, there are a few other examples like words joined to a singular subject by with as well as are parenthetical. The verb should therefore be put in the singular, which means whenever I'm combining it with a with or as well as, I'm taking it as one single entity. The factory with its contents is taken together. Do not take your verb because you have contents. Do not use a plural verb because your contents is plural. No, it is not referring to contents alone. It is referring to that whole entity which is factory with its contents, and then it is considered as a singular subject, so my verb is also singular. Was in insured. Similarly, the ship with its crew is taken as one. Was missing. Silver as well as gold, so this is also taken as one. Has fallen in price. So let's take up some more. When two or more singular subjects are connected by or nor, they require a singular verb because you're going to choose only one. No nook or corner was left unexplored because it's either an or neither and nor. So you're going to choose only one. That is why your singular verb will be used. Either the cat or the dog has been here because you're going to choose only one, either the cat or the dog. Okay, now in this case, when you have two subjects with a neither a nor or a neither a nor, if both are singular, your verb is also going to be singular. But if one of them is plural, then your verb is going to be plural, especially if it is closest to the verb, if it is just before the verb. Now, when the subjects are joined by two different persons, then the verb agrees with the one which is nearer to it, like either he or I. So I'm going to take the verb of I. So it will be am mistaken. And if you change your sentence to either you or he, then I'm going to take the verb of he, which will be is mistaken. When either, neither, each, everyone, many, they are used, then they must be followed by a singular verb. Neither of the two men was very strong. Each of these substances is found in India. That means each one of it is found in India. Let's take some more instances where we have some exceptions. Whenever you have two nouns qualified by each or every, even though they are connected by and, they require a singular verb. Every boy and every girl was given a packet of sweets. Now, as we have discussed before, every word with an S is not plural, like news is not plural, mathematics is not plural. It may look like a plural noun, but it is definitely singular in meaning. So my verb is also going to be singular. The news is true. The mathematics is my favorite subject. Similarly, every word without an S is not singular, like dozen, pair, etc. So according to the present market rate, 12 dozen cost 100 rupees. Okay, now whenever you have none in a subject, my verb is going to be plural. None are so deaf as those who will not hear. Or none of the boys were there in the party, so my verb is were. A collective noun takes a singular verb when the collection is thought as one whole thing, right? So, like the committee has issued its report. The team, the team plays very well in summer. So it's the team is taken as all people together. All the players are taken together, and it takes a singular noun, and then therefore my verb is also singular. When the plural noun is a proper name for some single object or some collective unit, it must be followed by a singular verb. So this we have already discussed. United States, even if it has an S, it is singular in meaning, therefore my verb is also singular. Similarly, Arabian Nights, it is singular in meaning, and therefore my verb is also singular. Now when a plural noun denotes some specific quantity or amount, like 50,000 rupees. So we don't have to count every note rupees. No, it is taken as a specific amount. So we will use singular verb is a big amount. 10 kilometers is a long walk. 15 minutes is allowed to each speaker. So I hope this concept of subject verb agreement must have got clear, and you would make sure that whenever you are forming a sentence, you would go through your subject and verb nicely and then accordingly form the sentence. So I hope it was useful and thank you so much for your time. Happy learning.